I never imagined how Silvio Santos transformed from a struggling dreamer to a wealthy icon. I will never forget the day everything fell apart. The morning sun poured through our tiny apartment's window, illuminating the cracked walls where dreams seemed to gather dust. My heart raced as I peered out at the busy streets below, each person moving with a purpose I longed to grasp. Silvio, my brother, was out there somewhere, chasing his wildest dreams. Silvio was more than just a brother. He was my confidant, my hero. As kids, we shared whispered secrets about the future, our eyes bright with hope despite the weight of our reality. I remember him saying, "One day, I will be someone important. You'll see." Those words echoed in my mind, a sweet promise amidst our struggles. We were raised by our hardworking parents, who sacrificed everything to give us a chance we could taste but never fully grasp. But the world wasn't kind. Silvio faced rejection after rejection, yet he wore a brave face. I admired his determination. He'd sit for hours, scribbling ideas on faded napkins, the ink smudging as he ran his fingers through his hair in frustration. "It will change," he'd promise me again and again. Oh, how naive we were. Then came that fateful night. Everything shifted. Silvio got an opportunity so thrilling it sent chills down my spine. He was offered a chance to audition for a local television show. My heart pounded in my chest as he sprinted out the door, leaving behind the scent of his cologne mixed with the aroma of Mom's cooking. Hope lingered in the air, but deep down, a seed of doubt clenched at my gut. The next day was a whirlwind. News spread like wildfire. Silvio had not only landed the role, he dazzled the judges, stole the spotlight. My heart soared with pride. I envisioned the audience cheering, the lights flashing around him like a scene from a fairy tale. But beneath the excitement, a storm brewed. I watched as the fame began to change him. Silvio became consumed. The more he gained, the more he seemed to lose himself. Late-night parties, empty promises, and whispers of betrayal cast shadows over our once bright dreams. As I stood there, gripping the edge of my shirt, I wondered if my brother was still inside that shining icon. Did the glitz blind him? And then, just when I thought I could reach out, a phone call shattered my world. A crash, a silence, a scream from the other end. My eyes widened, my breath hitched. "There's been an accident." Silvio, the words faded, swallowed by a black hole of dread and confusion. I was about to lose everything I believed in. In that moment, I felt the walls closing in, the weight of uncertainty crushing my chest. What if this was it? What if Silvio never came back? Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. The lights of the hospital flickered overhead as I sat in a plastic chair, cracked and uncomfortable, that seemed to reflect my own disquiet. Time stretched endlessly, each tick of the clock amplifying my anxiety, the sterile air thickening with unanswered questions. My phone was heavy in my hand, a lifeline I desperately wanted to discard yet clung to, praying for an update. The cacophony of footsteps, the hurried nurses, the muffled conversations was drowned by the chaos in my mind. Silvio had always been the better part of my heart, and now, as I waited, it felt as if a piece of me was missing. The world beyond those hospital walls felt a million light years away, filled with laughter and joy, while I remained stuck in this torment. I thought back to our childhood, to every moment we built together, and I found myself wishing desperately for just one more memory. Hours passed, and with each moment, my hope drained. My mother had arrived, her face pale and strained, eyes red from tears that had not yet dried. When she wrapped her arms around me, I could feel her heart racing, thudding against my chest. We shared a silence filled with unspoken terror. That strong bond of love had never seemed so fragile. Silvio is strong, she finally whispered, her voice quaking. He has to be. I wanted to believe her, but the image of his bright smile fading into the distance haunted me. Each memory felt like a fragile flame, and I feared it would be extinguished forever. Then, a glimmer of kindness emerged in the form of a nurse named Anna, who approached us with gentle eyes that held a world of compassion. "I'm so sorry for what you're going through," she said softly. "I'll keep you updated on your brother's condition." In the warmth of her presence, I gained a tiny shore of hope. Her smile, albeit fleeting, cut through the suffocating heaviness, reminding me that even small acts could inject a semblance of light into our despair. I held on to that moment, allowing it to spark a flicker of resolve within me. If Silvio was fighting, I would fight too. The waiting room filled with families, each facing their own pain, yet we were connected by a thread of shared suffering. I realized the fragility of our moments together. Nothing was guaranteed. As the sun sank lower in the sky, a doctor appeared, silhouetted against the harsh fluorescent lighting. My heart sank further. We were able to stabilize Silvio, but he is still in critical condition, she stated, her words measured yet stark. He is fighting, but we need to be prepared for any outcome. Those final words knotted in my stomach like a stone, sinking deeper until breath became laborious. I turned to find my mother's hand gripping tightly onto mine, her knuckles white. I could feel her fear reverberating through our clasped fingers. The uncertainty was more than I could bear, and just when I thought I couldn't endure it any longer, the doctor continued, "There is a chance he will come through, but it will take time, and we need to monitor his progress." Hope was a treacherous thing, I realized, like a bright coin tossed into a dark well. I couldn't tell if it would sink or flourish. Yet I began to muster it. "We can wait," I told my mother, my voice stronger than I felt. "We owe him that much." Hours dragged into days, the rhythm of our lives dulled by the sterile atmosphere of the hospital. I began to make the daily rounds, bringing him small tokens of home, a baseball cap that smelled like summer, a photograph of our family laughing over a shared meal. It was all I had, these fragments of joy stitched together in desperation. Each visit to Silvio's dimly lit hospital room felt like stepping into a dream that had morphed into a nightmare. Machines beeped and hissed, announcing his every struggle as I quietly brushed his hand, wishing him back with every fiber of my being. I whispered stories of our childhood, replayed our favorite moments, how we had once built a fort out of old blankets, pretending it was a castle where we were kings, where dreams knew no bounds. Then one afternoon, as I was lost in difficult memories, the nurse brought me a small glimmer of hope, a tiny scrap of what we had once known. "He responded when I said your name," she shared with a smile. "Seems he knows you're here." My heart leaped. Could it be that Silvio was still fighting? At that moment, I felt the tide shifting just a bit. Maybe hope wasn't as frail as I had believed. But just as a light began to pierce the heavy clouds of uncertainty, an unexpected shadow loomed. I noticed a visitor lurking in the halls, a tall, familiar figure with an air of audacity. It was Marcio, Silvio's former business partner, the man who had once stood proudly at his side before the whispers of betrayal turned friend into foe. A chill gripped my heart, a dread that knotted itself around my stomach. What was he doing here? Did he know something I didn't? Instinctively, I stood taller, preparing myself to confront the past, unsure of whether I dreaded his presence or longed for answers from a man whose ambition had once shone so brightly alongside my brother's. The air thickened, and in the depths of my thoughts, a new challenge emerged. Could I face whatever truth Marcio brought without crumbling further? And as I braced myself to meet him, I realized that glimpses of hope were often chased away by unforeseen shadows, leaving me standing on the precipice of despair once more. Everything around me felt suspended in time, yet my heart raced with the urgency of 1,000 unanswered questions. As I locked eyes with Marcio, a bitter knot of emotions twisted within me. It was difficult to separate the man standing before me from the memories of laughter and camaraderie I had associated with him. But now, that laughter felt tainted, a cruel reminder of the betrayal that had unraveled Silvio's ambition, pulling him under the weight of a world that once adored him. "Is he?" Marcio started, his voice barely above a whisper, but the worry etched across his face spoke volumes. I sensed an unfamiliar vulnerability in him, a hint of remorse mingled with the apprehension of what might come next. "Why are you here, Marcio?" I interrupted, my tone sharper than I intended. The waiting room's air grew thick, the tension crackling in our shared silence. "What do you want?" He hesitated for a moment, as if trying to bridge the chasm that had opened between us. "I came to see Silvio. I heard what happened. I owe him." There it was, the unspoken admission that hung in the air like a bad perfume. The words stung, yet the small part of me that was aching for clarity yearned to know what he meant by "oh. Is that all? You weren't exactly there when he needed you most." I shot back, my emotions surging as I fought to hold my ground. "You left him in ruin, Marcio. Do you think you can just waltz back in here and make everything better?" His shoulders slumped under my barrage, creating a moment of human connection shrouded in tension. "I know I messed up. I thought I was doing what was best for us." But he inhaled deeply, a weakness breaking through the bravado. "I never imagined it would spiral out of control like this. I never meant to hurt him." I wanted to scream, to pull him apart for the pain he'd caused. Silence hung between us, pregnant with unhatched revelations. But another part of me recognized the humanity in his eyes, a fragility mirrored in my own. Perhaps the bitterness I felt was an accumulation of grief, shame, and fear. Did it matter that Marcio was here now? Could I allow the possibility of redemption to bloom? "Do you really think Silvio would want to see you after everything?" I steadied my voice, looking for vulnerability beneath my own shield. "What would you even say to him?" He stepped closer, the desperation in his eyes making me question my resolve. "Maybe that I'm sorry," he said, his voice full of gravel. "Maybe that I'd give anything to take it all back, that I wish I could just be there for him now." A moment passed. The truth, raw and unfiltered, hung there, awaiting judgment. I loathed Marcio for the past, but couldn't deny a part of me wished Silvio could hear those words from him. If only Silvio could awaken from this nightmare and stand before us, oblivious to the entanglements that had formed between the three of us. "Silvio," I whispered, my heart yearning at the thought of my brother waking, seeing all of us standing there, suspended between old bonds and newfound animosities. "He doesn't have time for games or apologies right now. He needs strength." Marcio nodded, understanding mingling with the regret that painted his features. Yet his eyes betrayed a flicker of determination. "Then let me help," he proposed. "Let me be your ally in this. Whatever it takes to bring him back." Before I could respond, a voice broke the moment, slicing through the air with precision that echoed off the sterile walls. "You should leave," a strong female figure said, standing firmly behind Marcio. It was Anna, the nurse who had been a constant source of kindness in the storm. Her eyes met mine, a reassurance spiraled within her gaze. "He needs you both focused on getting Silvio through this. There is no room for disruptions right now." I felt the breath hitch in my throat as Marcio turned at the sound of Anna's authoritative voice. "I just want to help," he said, more plea than challenge. "You can help by not being here," she replied, her tone gentle yet unwavering. "We need to maintain a calm environment. Silvio can sense the energy around him. He needs only encouragement, love, and hope." In that stress-laden space, a nasty knot of conflicted emotions tightened within me. What did I truly want? Could I allow Marcio a chance? Or would it compromise Silvio's recovery further? As shadows of doubt and discomfort coiled around us, I felt the weight of the moment pressing down, time slipping like sand between fingers. "Please," Anna urged, turning her gaze toward me. I saw the understanding in her eyes. She knew the tempest brewing within me, knew I stood straddling two sides of an unyielding divide. And then, just as despair threatened to set in with a claw-like grip, a commotion erupted further down the hallway. Voices raised in panic drew us as one. My heart raced in sync with the chaos. "What's happening?" I asked, each second stretching the fabric of reality tighter. "An emergency," Anna said as she turned to run. "Stay here." The throbbing anxiety I had carried shifted as I grasped the unfolding circumstances. In the unnerving clamor, A terrifying thought struck me: what if Silvio's condition had worsened? What if he was slipping away from us again? Deeper into that abyss I dared not imagine. Marcio and I froze, our previous tensions forgotten as instinct propelled us to follow Anna's lead. In that moment, the fragile threads of hope we had staked upon Silvio's recovery knotted dangerously tight, teetering on the edge of revelation or despair. The emergency echoed, morphing hope's gentle glow into a vibrant urgency that clamored for our attention. Together, we moved toward the door, uncertainty driving our steps as fear coiled anew within me. The unknown awaited, a silent threat lurking just beyond our reach, and with each passing second, the fragility of our reality struck like thunder. As we stepped into the swirl of urgency, endless possibilities hung suspended, the outcome shrouded in an unbearable fog of uncertainty. The air buzzed with frenetic energy as we ventured deeper into the chaos that had erupted down the hallway. Nurses rushed past us, their expressions a mixture of calm professionalism and hidden anxiety. I could hear the beeping of machines, each sound a reminder of the delicate balance we were teetering upon. Marcio fell in step beside me, our earlier confrontation temporarily overshadowed by the surging tide of worry. "What's going on?" I asked, my voice barely above a whisper, the weight of the unknown wrapping tightly around my chest. With each step, the fear clung to me, a second skin that refused to shed easily. "Maybe it's Silvio," Marcio suggested, his own face paling. The words hung in the air like a jarring note in a song, piercing through the veil of false hope I'd been clinging to. We both knew that even if he were to awaken, the road to healing would be long and fraught with challenges. "We need to find Anna," I said urgently, scanning the corridor. As panic flickered and faded with the frenetic footsteps of the crew, I felt a strange, twisted urge to turn back, to retreat into the cool detachment of my own solitude. Yet, Silvio beckoned, a voice in the rustle of chaos reminding me of the love that had fueled our lives together. Just as I thought to pull Marcio with me deeper into the maelstrom, a voice cut through the fray. "In here, quickly." Anna gestured for us from a nearby doorway, her demeanor collected but her eyes betraying the weight of urgent worry. We rushed into the room, instinctively drawn to her as if she were a lighthouse guiding us through the storm. Inside, the sight nearly caused my heart to stop. Silvio lay on the hospital bed, surrounded by medical staff buzzing softly but efficiently. Machines surrounded him, their rhythmic beeping a reminder of the thin line between life and the void. "Is he?" I faltered, my throat tightening as I searched for signs of him, of the laughter that used to fill our home, of the brother who believed in the power of dreams. "He is stable for now, but we have a situation," Anna explained succinctly, her hands flying over paperwork as she directed the team in the room. "We found some complications that weren't showing up before. We need to run more tests. You need to be prepared for the possibility of what?" I demanded, a flare of anger igniting in me. "No, don't say it." I could see Marcio's hands trembling beside me, the reality of our rift now hardening into unbreakable glass. "What do we do?" he whispered, leaning closer, desperation creeping back into his voice as if we were children again, lost and afraid. "Hope. We just need to hope, pray, do everything we can to keep him here," I said. "We can't give up." Anna sighed, her expression softening as she looked at both of us. "That's right. He needs encouragement, positive energy, love, whatever you can bring to him. Your brother needs you both." Her eyes bounced between us, a silent reminder of the shared bond we forged through love and pain, even amid the uncertainty that swamped the air around us. "What about you?" Marcio implored suddenly. "What can we do? Can't we? It's better if you stay positive. Talk to him. Touch him." Anna glanced at Silvio, whose body lay unnaturally still. "Talk about memories that made him happy. Just be there. That's what he needs most right now." The words echoed in my brain like a comforting balm. Yes, we would share the stories of our childhood, of the dreams he built, of the laughter we nourished. And perhaps amidst those memories, buried deep, we could unearth the spark necessary to reach him through the fog. As we gathered closer to Silvio's side, I hesitated momentarily, my heart constricting at the sight of his pale face. I could hardly recognize him, lost in the shadows of illness and dreams unfulfilled. "Silvio, can you hear me?" I whispered, choking slightly on the lump caught in my throat. Marcio placed a tentative hand on his brother's forehead, a flash of unexpected tenderness passing between them, a silent plea that transcended our shared anger. "You're not alone, man. We're right here," he murmured, tears brimming in his eyes. And there it was, a moment suspended between the past and the uncertain future, an unspoken truce forged in the crucible of love. "Remember the beach house?" I continued hesitantly. "How we spent summers building that incredible sandcastle that managed to stand against the waves. Please, Silvio, we need you to build with us again." At first, it felt as if time bent around us, the air taut with sorrow and fragments of hope. Marcio followed suit, delving into memories of late-night games and inside jokes that only brothers understood. Together, we filled the charged space with love, memories flooding the air like light. But just as warmth began to weave itself through the darkness, a commotion stirred again outside the room, slicing through our fragile bubble. A glaring noise erupted, louder than before, drawing anxious glances. The door opened abruptly, and a figure burst through, panting, eyes wide with fear. "Anna, there's been an accident in the ER. We need everyone." The nurse's face flew pale, and in that split second, dread washed over me. "What kind of accident?" I barely managed to ask. "A devastating collapse. We have mass casualties coming in now. We need you," the messenger urged, panic etched in their brow as despair seeped back in, mingling with the urgency. My world spiraled again into chaos. Here we were, trying to hold on to Silvio, yet life was threatening to plunge even deeper into turmoil. I caught Marcio's eye, the same vulnerability flickering there mirrored my own apprehension. I wanted to protest, but even I knew from past experiences that the world doesn't pause for grief or hope. And just like that, choices loomed before us. We risked everything at Silvio's side, but how much longer could we protect that light from flickering out? The spotlight once again shifted away. Would we be forced back into our roles as helpless spectators? Or could we find a way to bridge the distance between the chaos raging outside and the love radiating within? A feeling of dread pulsed beneath my skin. It scared me to think of what lay ahead, but one thing remained. I would fight for Silvio, even if it meant wrestling darkness itself. I felt Marcio's hand reach for mine, a silent vow shared amid the uncertainty of the moment. But as I steeled myself to face the swirling storm, a fleeting thought slipped into my mind. What if this catastrophe held secrets that were never meant to be uncovered? What if, amidst the rush, we were about to discover truths that could either save us further or shatter everything we thought we knew? The ER was a whirlpool of chaos, the kind that turns the world into a blur defined only by hurried footsteps and urgent voices. I stood frozen for a moment, the stakes morphing in my mind as I realized that the fracture between our desires and our nightmares was about to be tested again. Marcio's grip tightened on my hand, a silent anchor in the tidal wave of uncertainty that now threatened to subsume us. We both glanced at Anna, who was exchanging urgent whispers with the nurse, her expression shifting from focused determination to something almost imperceptibly darker. I could feel my heart racing again, a familiar rhythm of fear and concern that had become all too routine. What if our moments of hope, those memories we had sewn together for Silvio, were to be awkwardly pried apart, lost in the shadows of a new disaster? "We need to go," Anna said suddenly, her voice resolute as she turned back towards us. "I have to handle this situation. You two stay with Silvio." But as she spoke, I saw the flicker of doubt cross her eyes, the briefest glimpse of someone trapped in the whirlwind of their reality. "What if we're needed out there?" Marcio challenged, a fervor igniting in his tone. My heart raced at the thought of leaving Silvio's side, of abandoning him in a critical moment. But deep down I could sense the truth. Every second counted. "Please," Anna pleaded, her expression softening, beseeching us to understand. "You won't help anyone in there if your brother's condition worsens. Just hold on. Stay together." We stood at the crossroads of desperation and hope, the weight of our love for Silvio juxtaposed sharply against the urgent reminder that life continues to spiral even when you desperately wish it would pause. I turned towards Silvio, despair clawing at my insides. How could I stay still while chaos unfurled its dark wings just beyond the threshold? Please, Silvio, we're here. We love you, I whispered again, a mantra meant to pierce through the veil of unconsciousness that held him captive. But deep within me, I felt the doubts echo, taunting every expression of love I poured into my voice. Marcio squeezed my hand tighter, a reminder of our connection forged amidst the fears that had taunted and divided us. What if we make a pact? He suggested, his voice low yet fervent. We both stay beside him, and you share that memory about the sandcastle again. The ocean, the joy. Maybe that can guide him. I looked at Marcio, and for the first time in days, something shifted inside me, something warm, fragile, yet powerful. This moment wasn't about the divisions. It was about our shared love for Silvio and what he brought into our lives. You're right, I said softly, the weight of our current emotional storm fading just a fraction as I leaned closer to Silvio. Remember our sandcastle? I began again, drawing on the ripples of laughter that once filled our days. Remember how we dug deep, how it seemed like it would never topple over, how we worked so hard to make it a fortress against the waves. As I spoke, I felt a rush of warmth radiating between Marcio and me, a fragile thread binding us together in a passionate hope. Just then, the distant sound of sirens drew closer, a chilling reminder that our bubble of calm might soon shatter. The door swung open again, revealing Anna, her features laced with urgency but tinged with something softer too. I'm sorry, but I have to go. You two need to keep Silvio talking. Literally anything that brings him back. Wait, Anna, I called, clasping her hand for a fleeting moment. What happens out there? Will it affect? I don't know, she admitted, her voice cracking slightly. I don't know what we're getting into, but your brother needs you here. Don't lose that connection. It was a bittersweet promise she made, the urgency in her eyes meeting the uncertainty swirling within us. With that, she was gone, the echo of her footsteps fading like a distant memory. Once again, the room felt like a sanctuary clad in shadows, yet the vivid memories flickering in our minds ignited a flicker of possibility. I turned towards Marcio as the quiet settled between us, a gentle reminder of all we had endured. Let us try again, Marcio suggested, a faint flicker of hope sparking in his voice. Tell him about the time we caught that massive fish on your last trip. With every fragment of memory I shared, words became an incantation, a spell meant to reach Silvio across an unforgiving expanse. As I painted the pictures with my thoughts, waves crashing, laughter ringing out under the sun, the beeping of the machines seemed to line up, even harmonizing with our stories. And just as I felt a thrum of connection, as if memories were weaving themselves into a tapestry strong enough to reach through the veil, the chaos erupted outside the room. Voices rose in concern, crisp and urgent, cutting through our quiet world like a knife. Get the crash cart. We need the defibrillator. The sounds poured in through the door, echoing around the cold starkness of the room, shattering the fragile bond we were trying to forge. Our hearts dropped, the gravity of life clenching tightly around us. And then, Silvio's hand twitched for the first time, the slightest movement, but the heavens seemed to crash down around us as a tremor of hope ignited in my core. Did you see that? I gasped, breathless. Marcio's eyes widened, disbelief washing over him. Did he just move? His voice cracked, the cautious optimism weaving through his tone. As we leaned closer, trying to gauge the depth of Silvio's response, the commotion morphed into shouts, a fierce crescendo that rose with the urgency of impending reality. Without warning, the intercom blared, and an announcement echoed through the hallway. Emergency lockdown initiated. All non-essential staff please report to designated areas. Panic struck my heart, a fresh wave of dread. They were locking down the hospital. What did this mean? Would we suddenly be thrust away into isolation just as Silvio began to fight back? As I caught Marcio's panicked gaze, the flickers of hope and despair intertwined in an exquisite balance. The clock was ticking, and with each second, new threats loomed beyond the door, a mystery yet to be revealed. A secret we would have to face together. We were still in this fight, but would we unite against the tidal wave threatening to drown us? Or would we succumb to the whispers of fear edging their way into our hearts? I felt a shiver, not just from the cold around me, but from the weight of the truth that we might soon uncover the threads of our shared existence were fraying, and somewhere in this chaos lay a revelation, a transformation of everything we thought we knew about ourselves and Silvio's unyielding spirit. The air was thick with tension as I exchanged a glance with Marcio, uncertainty spinning between us like a fog that refused to lift. Every heartbeat was a countdown, echoing my doubts and hopes in a rhythm that mirrored the beeping machines, their notes suspended in a precarious balance of life and death. Silvio lay there, his pale face illuminated by the harsh fluorescent lights, a canvas of dreams yet to be fulfilled, my own head spinning with the sheer weight of what hung in the balance. He had always been the creator of dreams, a safe harbor in our turbulent lives. But now, as those dreams bobbed like tiny boats caught in a storm, I couldn't help but wonder if we'd done enough to anchor him. The tick-tock of the clock on the wall felt mocking, a reminder of relentless time pressing against us, urging us to act, to connect, to fight. "Silvio," I murmured, straining to keep my voice steady. "Can you hear us?" My heart raced as I leaned closer, willing him to respond, as if my very presence could bridge the chasm separating our thoughts from his. But as moments crept by like shadows, dread twisted in my gut, simmering into a boiling resolve. I couldn't let this darkness claim him without laying bare the love and memories we shared. "Remember the birthday you threw for me?" I whispered, recalling the flour-dusted kitchen and Silvio's infectious laughter that filled our small apartment. "You had the candles, the music blasting, and we danced like fools in the living room." Marcio's eyes shone with nurturing fervor. He leaned in closer, his hands still intertwined with mine. "And how could we forget the cake fight that followed?" He added, a glimmer of amusement breaking through the shroud of anxiety. "You two were covered in frosting for days." A slight twitch flickered across Silvio's fingers, my breath caught in my throat. "Did you see that?" I almost shouted, an urgent plea pulsing in my chest. Marcio's eyes widened, and for the briefest moment, I saw that flicker of hope ignite in him too. But even as we clung to the moment's magic, the intercom still croaked ominous news. "Emergency lockdown initiated." The words felt like a heavy weight dropping into the pit of my stomach. A soft tremor rolled past, and the room felt smaller, the shadows darker. "We might be stuck here." For I paused, the words barely echoing in my thoughts. "What if we can't stay with Silvio? What if I couldn't finish the thought." The fear clawed at my throat. Marcio's grip on my hand tightened, his eyes darkening with raw determination. "No," he said firmly. "We're not letting him go. Not now. We'll find a way to keep him fighting." Suddenly, a nurse burst through the door, her expression a mix of urgency and calm, a lifebuoy in this deluge of despair. "I need you both to keep him talking," she said, a wave of soothing strength cutting through the chaos that coursed around us. "Whatever it takes, keep his spirit engaged." With that, she turned on her heel, hurtling back into the storm outside. I felt the thread of connection with her. This commitment woven through her simple directive made me realize there were few moments, however subtle, where kindness bloomed. "Silvio," I urged, my voice growing softer yet tinged with fierce conviction. "You've fought through storms before. Remember that time we went to the beach? The sun kissed your skin, the sand stuck to your feet, and you vowed never to leave a grain of it behind?" Marcio chimed in, excitement dancing in his tone. "And all because you were determined to build the biggest sandcastle Cranko Beach had ever seen. You were in your element there, Silvio. So full of life." The machines emitted a hopeful cadence, synchronized to our shared memories. Each word breathed new life into the memories coiling around us, fighting against the shrouded silence. Yet, beneath it all, uncertainty rippled through the air, the looming threat of separation mingling with urgent whispers from the outside world. For a fleeting moment, it felt as if the clock had paused, suspended within this cocoon of our shared stories. I started to speak again, but the sounds of frantic footsteps grew louder outside, contrasting sharply with the hope crafting a moment in this medical limbo. Then, out of nowhere, the lights flickered, a tremor that felt all too real as the power surged, plunging the room into intermittent darkness. I held my breath, the luminous heartbeat of the machines clashing with the unfolding chaos. Was this a malfunction, or was it something worse? The pandemonium surged around us, an orchestra of shouts, of urgency that seeped into our sanctuary. My heart raced as I turned to Marcio, fearing the fracture we fought so hard to mend would splinter under the pressure. I can't lose him, I said, my voice nearly breaking. But Marcio placed a finger to his lips, urging me to focus. Just keep talking to him, he insisted, determination etched in his features. We have to remind him why he needs to come back. The ferocity in his voice sent shivers coursing through me. And then, amidst the cacophony, I heard Silvio's voice, faint but undeniable, tearing through the veil of darkness. Here it was barely a whisper, a thread of connection pulsing through the room, cascading warmth in its wake. My heart soared, but the darkness outside felt like an impending storm as the lights flickered back to life. The door slammed open, revealing the stark silhouette of a figure I couldn't quite place. My breath caught, a chilling sensation prickling at the back of my neck. As the unfamiliar face stepped into the light, I felt the air thicken with an emotion I couldn't define, a revelation approaching, laden with the promise of secrets unraveling. And just as a piercing clarity settled in, Silvio's voice echoed stronger, defiant through the rumble of uncertainty that surrounded us. Don't leave me. In that moment, everything shifted. The walls shook with intertwined fates. The essence of vulnerability surged like a living creature. Our fight intensified, and I understood in the heart of chaos, hope never wavers, only transforms. But as tension twisted, the terminal fear behind me surged, and somehow, I knew, whatever was coming next would demand everything we had fought for, and then some. The walls of the hospital room felt tighter now, each breath a battle against the gravity of uncertainty threatening to crush us. Silvio's voice hung in the air, a tender plea that cut through the chaos like a lighthouse cutting through a storm. I exchanged another glance with Marcio, his expression a mirror of my own anxiety. The phrase "don't leave me" echoed in my mind, a haunting reminder that this wasn't just a fight for Silvio's life, but for his dreams, the very essence of who he was. "Silvio," I exclaimed, forcing myself to focus on him despite the urgency swirling around us. "We're right here. We need you to fight. You've always been the strongest among us." Desperation infused my words, searching for a spark of acknowledgement, a flicker of his beloved spirit. Marcio leaned closer, the intensity of his gaze unwavering. "You have so many people who care about you, Silvio. We can't do this without you. Remember that garden you wanted to plant? All those flowers? Think about how beautiful it will be. We need you to see it through." I could see the flicker of recognition in Silvio's half-closed eyes, a slight crease forming on his brow as he fought against the shadows. But just before I could seize that glimmer of hope, the unfamiliar figure stepped fully into view, the light casting an ominous shadow against the stark white walls of the room. "Please, who are you?" Marcio demanded, standing protectively beside me, tension radiating from him as he squared his shoulders, ready to confront whatever threat this newcomer posed. "I'm Dr. Luisa Cardoso," she said, her voice steady but edged with urgency. "I've come to help. There's been a change in Silvio's condition, and we need to act quickly." But in her eyes, I could read someone grappling with uncertainty. It was a mirror of our own anguish. "What kind of change?" I interjected, fear gripping my heart. "Is it bad?" Her lips parted, hesitance creeping into her demeanor. "He needs to hear you both. But I can't give you false hope. There's a critical time frame we're working against." And we all fear that her voice faltered, and I could sense an unsaid truth weighing heavily upon her. "Can we at least stay with him?" I asked, desperation clawing at the edges of my composure. "He is more than just a name on a chart. He needs us." Dr. Cardoso glanced at Silvio, then fixed her gaze on us, the empathy in her eyes palpable. "Yes, but I'll need to monitor him closely. I'll do everything I can." The urgency of her presence, tempered with a glimmer of hope, brought clarity to the danger we were up against. I turned back to Silvio, my heart racing. "You hear that, Silvio? We're right here. Just a little longer, okay? We're fighting for you. Moments swirled like a storm around us, punctuated by the visceral sound of machines, each beep a reminder of his fragility. Marcio's voice trembled beside me as he gripped my hand tighter. You believe in your dreams, don't you, Silvio? This is just one more challenge. You've overcome so much. And then, just like that, the air shifted. The sensation of something deeper stirred within Silvio, palpable in every heartbeat reverberating through the sterile room. I want, he rasped, each word a monumental effort, to be more for yourself, Marcio encouraged, squeezing my hand. For us, for all the lives you've touched. Suddenly, the emergency lights blared to life, and the atmosphere shifted again, a fear coursing through the hospital. The door swung open, revealing a frantic nurse, her face pale as she hurriedly called for Dr. Cardoso. There's an emergency in the surgical ward. We need all available staff. Dr. Cardoso hesitated, weighing the urgency of our situation against the distinct life hanging in the balance. Stay with him, she commanded us before darting out of the room, leaving us in a hollow silence. The clock resumed its cruel ticking, and I turned back to Silvio, pleading with my eyes for him to hold on. But just as hope began to sprout as a quiet fire, another wave of dread washed over me. Where was the clarity our earlier connection had promised? Silvio, listen. To me, I said, my voice rising with fervor. You need to fight for your dreams, for the people who love you. You're a beacon of light in our lives. You have to keep that light burning bright. A fleeting moment passed, one that neither of us could articulate but felt profoundly, bridging our hearts and souls. Then, with a sudden crack, the vitals monitor let out a sharp warning beep. Panic compelled me, my heart racing. What is happening? Marcio stepped closer to Silvio, his voice unwavering. You're strong, Silvio. You can do this. But as the sound of chaos echoed from the hall, I felt an unpredictable shift within the room. A dark cloud looming this time, threatening to carry more than our fears. Silvio's breathing hastened, the alarms blaring louder with each erratic beat. My pulse raced alongside them, dread lodging deep in my throat, and just as I was about to break under the weight of all that was unspooled, Silvio's eyes fluttered open fully, a piercing blue igniting even amidst the turmoil, his gaze locking onto mine. I want to leave, he struggled to say, a defiant flicker illuminating the depths of his soul. And yet, before I could respond, the realization crystallized in the pit of my stomach, a haunting truth that had lain in wait. But there's something I haven't told you, he whispered, the words barely escaping his lips. The sorrow in his tone felt like a blade, slicing through my heart, as my mind raced back to every shared moment, wondering what was hidden beneath the surface. But amidst the echoes of alarms, just as Silvio began to reveal whatever secret had burdened him, the lights flickered again violently. I could feel hope mingling with an impending dread, tightening like a vice around my chest. And at that moment, I understood that this battle was far from over. A tempest brewed within Silvio, and the unshared weight of his hidden truth threatened to unravel everything we were fighting for. The shadows in the room seemed to deepen as Silvio's words hung uncomfortably in the air, a tantalizing thread of truth beckoning for unraveling. I could almost feel the heartbeat of the universe striking an ominous rhythm, one that echoed the doubts festering inside me. The flickering lights above cast ghostly reflections over us, amplifying the uncertainty that clouded our minds. Silvio, I whispered, trying to steady my voice, preventing it from betraying the storm of fears gathering within. What haven't you told us? Please, we need to know. In the split second before he could respond, the chaos outside the room faded into silence, a silence so dense it felt suffocating. Marcio leaned closer, his brow furrowed, desperately searching for the answers I craved just as intensely. But Silvio's gaze wavered, drifting from us to the ceiling, like he was battling an unseen force. Everything. I tried so hard, he stammered, truth and denial wrestling in his eyes. But you deserve to know. My dreams. They changed. Changed? I echoed, disbelief threading into my tone. What do you mean? Silvio inhaled sharply, his breaths shallow and labored. I wanted to build something beautiful. For us and for everyone. A garden, yes, but more than that. It was to plant hope into a world that seemed so grim. He struggled with each word, determination lending strength to his fading voice. But sometimes, I felt that hope was just another word for disappointment. The dreams, they weren't mine. They were your dreams. What he said hung like an unyielding weight. No, Silvio, they were never just mine. They were ours. We believed together. I stumbled over my words, searching for a lifeline in the emotional depths that separated us. You are the dreamer. You need to own that, to believe in yourself. The faintest trace of a smile graced his lips as he fought to maintain clarity through the fog of pain and disorientation. But I never let you see how afraid I was. Marcio tightened his grip on my hand, his voice laced with urgency. Fear doesn't win, Silvio. You can't let it hold you back now. As Silvio's focus began to wane, he fought to clutch the thread connecting him to us, but the signals from the machines screamed for attention. Just when it appeared he was on the precipice of sharing something significant, another technician burst into the room, her gaze snapping to us with anxiety etched in her features. Get out. We need to assess his vitals, she commanded, and before any of us could protest, she motioned for Marcio and me to step aside. That I took a step back, pain washing over me as I felt the distance between Silvio and us grow once more. You fight, Silvio. We're here. Just hold on, I shouted, my voice cracking with the weight of my helplessness. Marcio's hand fell away from mine, and as we were shepherded into the corridor, I caught a glimpse of Silvio's eyes fading, drowning in shadows that no longer felt merely external but deep within him. I could only stand frozen, staring at the medical professionals swarming around my best friend, desperately trying to keep him tethered to this world. Out in the sterile hallway, the chaos had heightened. Nurses rushed past us, voices mingling in an unsettling tapestry of despair and urgency. My heart raced as I watched their hands move with newfound determination, while mine felt helpless at my sides. Something's wrong, Marcio said, voice trembling as he pressed against the wall, staring blankly at the flurry of activity. What if he never... Stop. You can't think like that, I snapped, the intensity of my emotions surfacing like a tidal wave. We have to believe. We must. For him. Suddenly, amidst the storm of panic, a nurse caught my eye, gesturing frantically toward the waiting room. You need to come, he's stable. But you need to go around. You won't be able to see him. Marcio and I exchanged frantic glances, confusion weaving through our anxieties. What did stable mean? Relief rushed through me, but so did dread. When we reached the waiting area, I heard hushed whispers that sent a chill coursing through me. They're looking for some organ donors, a nurse told an acquaintance, the words chillingly precise, as every implication hit me like a punch to the gut. Organ donors? My heart sank. What does that mean? Why would they need that? I turned to Marcio, but I could see the vortex of emotions swirling behind his eyes. We can't lose him. He gripped my arm, desperation bleeding into his tone. We need to go back. We need to support him. Just then, moments collided with urgency. The doctor reemerged, her face a facade of fatigue and resolve. You need to brace yourselves. Silvio's condition is critical. He needs to know you're here, but... She hesitated, her eyes darting from us to her clipboard. But what? I felt the air socked out of me. Tell us. We can't handle uncertainty anymore. It's about the organ transplant. He has a chance, but he'll need a donor fast. I froze, the world spinning. A donor? But he's alive. He can fight. Sometimes fighting isn't enough, Dr. Cardoso replied, her tone grave yet empathetic, filled with the weight of too many lives hanging in balance. If someone can't donate, we may have to look elsewhere. Marcio gasped, a flicker of hope lost in a chilling reality as I processed her words, a genesis of panic pooling in my chest. Just then, Silvio's voice echoed in my mind. There's something. I haven't told you. No, I whispered, desperation clawing its way up my throat. Please, we can't. And in that moment, something new dawned within me, a fierce need to uncover what remained hidden, to discover the layers of fear that had kept Silvio from embracing the strength I knew he held. As I stood there, caught in a storm of conflicting emotions, A realization pricked at the edge of consciousness. What other truths were buried beneath? What other secrets we had paved over in our dreams? And in the midst of the chaos, the fear lurking at the fringes whispered a haunting reminder. If I didn't find a way to bring those truths to light, it could cost us everything. The waiting room pulsed with a spectral energy. The air felt thick, suffocating with the unsaid. I leaned against the cold metal bench, grappling with an urgency that clawed at my insides. The chaos persisted around us, but a profound silence enveloped my mind. A momentary flash of anger surged within me, begging to be unleashed on the sterile white walls, on the doctors who were mere bearers of unwelcome news. But there was no one to release it upon, no target for the feelings clawing to escape. Marcio fidgeted beside me, despair swimming in his gaze. "We can't just sit here," he exclaimed, the tremor in his voice belying the resolute tone of someone who desperately wanted to be strong. "What if he needs us? But what can we do?" I shot back more venomously than intended. Frustration boiled over, and the only release was this absurd blame I directed inward, our helplessness spiraling into anger with every anxiously ticking moment. Just when I thought I might crumble under the weight of it all, a gentle voice broke through the haze. A nurse approached us cautiously, her smile warm yet pained, eyes reflecting an understanding born out of countless encounters with suffering. "I know this is difficult," she said softly, "but he is fighting. I've seen patients like him turn around. Not every story ends in tragedy." Marcio inhaled sharply, hope igniting in his eyes, yet tinged with the fear of something too fragile to grasp. "Really? You mean it? He could, she affirmed, taking a step closer. "But he needs to know you're there, that he is not alone." It was a slender thread of hope, thin and delicate, but I clung to it as if it were a lifeline. "What can we do? How can we reach him?" Her expression shifted. She seemed to deliberate. "Write him a letter or share a story. Sometimes, voices from loved ones, especially amidst the chaos, can move the soul in ways that medicine cannot." I bit my lip, the proposal crashing over me like a wave, sending a shivering warmth through my heart. Marcio's fingers curled around mine, interlacing with a sudden ferocity, a promise unspoken, one of shared resilience. The thought of Silvio, trapped in that sterile room, fighting against demons, ignited a fierce resolve within me. I leaned forward earnestly, urgency overwhelming the fragility of the moment. "Let us go, Marcio. We can write him letters that speak of everything he means to us, of the dreams we've built, of the hope that still lives here." I gestured between us as if to draw a map connecting the fragments of our hearts. "Let him know he matters, that we believe in him." Marcio's gaze softened, consideration weaving through the knot of anxiety that had taken residence in both our hearts. "Okay," he whispered, determination regaining its foothold. "Let us do it." The waiting room shifted as we found a small table in the corner, two chairs beckoning invitingly. I reached into my bag and pulled out a pen, handed it to Marcio, and together we scribbled a letter filled with all the love, laughter, and memories that tethered us together. "Dear Silvio," I started, feeling the grip of nostalgia thaw the ice encasing my heart. "Do you remember the first dream we had? The one about the garden where anything could grow? That's where we are now. You are not just a dreamer, but our dreamer. We're still here, waiting for you to lead us into that future." Marcio looked at me, his eyes brimming with unshed tears. "We need you, Silvio. You fought for us. Let us fight for you now together." He added the line, his voice trembling slightly as he found strength in our shared vulnerability. As we continued to write, words flowed freely. Our favorite moments together, silly anecdotes, times they made us laugh until we cried. Each line filled not just with memories but with an unwavering belief that he still had a chance to blossom, that the seeds of hope he had sown in us were still thriving in the midst of our writing. A commotion erupted in the hallway. A voice loud and frantic, the sound unmistakably belonging to Silvio's mother. "He can't leave us. There must be something you can do." The woman's sobs and furious demands echoed, piercing through the walls and igniting a fresh fear in my chest. Marcio and I exchanged alarmed glances, our words momentarily stilled, the pen dropping from my fingers. Everything we had built in that moment of hope threatened to shatter, spiraling into the unknown. I felt a chill slither down my spine. The impending threat of despair settled upon us like a heavy fog. What if they don't let us in? I gasped. What if we don't get to tell him? Before I could wallow in the suffocating fear bubbling up within, the nurse came back, interrupting uproariously from the entrance. "He's stable, but there's something you need to know. His family is here. They might need some time, but we are trying everything. It's not over yet." She paused, breathless hesitation splintering her resolve. "There's a chance he might need a blood transfusion. You two need to think about signing up transfusion?" My heart plummeted at the implication. What does that mean? For another voice, sharp and alarmed, cut through the din. Someone else was speaking. "We can't allow anyone else." The storm that had built inside me surged again, and before I could restrain my impulse, I was up and following the nurse, edging closer to the chaos. As I reached the doorway, pushing through, I confronted the doctor whose presence exuded authority. "What's going on? You mentioned a chance for Silvio. You can't just keep us away." What I didn't know was that the next word spoken would change everything, crack open a vulnerability I had never anticipated. "This isn't about just hope anymore," the doctor replied, a grave tone underscoring her words. "There's a truth about Silvio's past, something he hasn't shared with anyone, that might affect everything. A story beneath his story, a secret lurking beneath the surface of our dreams, a truth woven not just into the fabric of his choices, but into our lives as a whole." Fear rippled through me, but behind it, a flicker of something else ignited, a fierce determination to uncover what had been hidden. I could sense that whatever lay cloaked in shadows could either be our salvation or our undoing. "Tell me everything," I breathed, heart pounding, ready to unearth the truths buried under layers of silence, determined to find Silvio's voice amidst the turmoil and bring him back to us once and for all. The air felt charged, alive with uncertainty as the doctor's words sunk in, striking a deep chord within me. There was something about Silvio's past that we had yet to unearth, a truth almost like a specter that had been haunting him, obscured by the dazzling facade he built. I stood on the precipice of comprehension, torn between fears and the fervent hope that we could somehow still save him. "Wait, what do you mean by a truth? What does he need to tell us?" My voice rang out, urgency spilling from my lips as the room swirled with the tension of unspoken stories. Dr. Cardoso regarded me for a moment, her eyes filled with a mix of empathy and exhaustion. "Silvio has been fighting battles you both don't know about. The shadows that whispered in his dreams weren't just illusions. They concealed painful realities once he felt he had to face alone. Those struggles don't just disappear in times of crisis. They can become the very chains that bind him." A rush of emotions flooded through me, anger and confusion clamoring together in a cacophony. "So you're telling me all this time Silvio was burdened by things he never shared? Why didn't he tell us? We could have helped him." My heart raced, the realization hitting heavy. It felt like every laughter-filled moment of our lives had meaning distorted by unacknowledged pain. "He was afraid," Dr. Cardoso responded quietly, a soothing note alongside the gravity of her words. "Fear can undermine even the strongest of souls. It builds walls we don't realize are there until they crush us beneath their weight." I sagged slightly, the truth of it resting heavily upon my chest. Inside, I could sense Silvio, trapped beneath layers of expectations he had created, invisible shackles holding him back from the people who loved him most. "Then we have to break through. We have to remind him of who he truly is." Marcio was at my side, his expression mirroring the very resolve that bloomed within me. "Let us get back to him. We can ask him about his fears. Maybe that's what will really bring him back." Dr. Cardoso nodded, her expression softening. "Be there for him. Remind him that love has always been louder than fear." With an electrifying rush of renewed purpose, we hurried back to the room. Each hurried step echoed our sentiments, beating promises of perseverance against the cold floor. The moment the door swung open, I felt a rush of air, an intangible connection binding our hearts as we rushed to Silvio's side. "Silvio," I breathed, gripping his hand with unwavering determination. Can you hear us? With a frail yet familiar glimmer in his eyes, he slowly turned to face us, the faintest hint of his spirit flickering back to life. His breaths were still labored, but an aching warmth began to unfold within me. It was a reminder of the brother I had always known. "You're here," he whispered, each word a small victory. "We're not going anywhere," Marcio seconded. "We're fighting with you, big brother. But we need you to fight too. You've always been the strongest. Tell us what's been holding you back." At that moment, I could almost feel the weight of silence pressing into the room, a moment so heavy it felt reverent. Silvio exhaled deeply, his gaze drifting as if retracing his thoughts in pursuit of direction. "I've tried so hard to keep you both from my struggles, to keep the dream alive. But it feels like I'm losing everything. Don't you realize?" I interjected, desperately wanting him to understand how vividly we could see him still. "You don't have to carry this alone. You've always had us. Your dreams are meant to be shared." Silvio's brow furrowed, the shadows dancing behind his eyes, a mix of realization and vulnerability. "The dreams I built for us, they terrified me. I thought if I failed, I would let you down. I kept running away, but my fear only buried me deeper." My heart clenched, understanding the depth of his isolation. "But those fears are not yours to bear alone. They belong to all of us. Together we will face whatever comes next." Marcio stepped closer, a burgeoning sense of resolve glinting in his eyes. "Life has its ups and downs. We've gone through so much together, it's made us stronger. You don't have to pretend to be the only one who believes." A vulnerable smile played on Silvio's lips, but I could see it wavering. "I've let fear guide me for so long," he said, his voice trembling. "What if I then disappoint you both?" The question hung there, heavy and treacherous, threatening to cut to the heart of the moment. "Silvio," I said firmly, "we will face every storm together. Love doesn't falter. It holds you accountable while lifting you higher." In that moment, something shifted within Silvio, a spark ignited in his depths as the defenses he had built around himself began to crack. "I want to," he whispered, a hint of longing threading his voice. "I want to live." A rush of emotion flooded through me, the sounds of our blood pulsing steadily in rhythm beside the beeping machines. "Then fight for it," Marcio urged, our connection solidified by understanding. "Fight for every dream. Fight for us." The air thickened with fear and courage intertwining. Silvio's eyelids fluttered as he felt our unwavering presence. "I'm scared," he admitted, a quiet tremor unfurling in his tone, but not alone. With every ounce of my being, I squeezed his hand tighter. "Now you know you have us, Silvio, always. Your fears are no match for the dreams we've built together." A miraculous calm descended in the realm of uncertainty as I saw his face soften, resolve blossoming in his eyes. I need to take that leap," he breathed, inhaling long and deep as if reclaiming pieces of himself he kept shrouded in darkness. And just like that, in the fierce embrace of vulnerability, the space between us pulsed with a newfound energy. The bright lights of machines hummed with hope as Silvio began the arduous climb back into the light, into sisterhood, into brotherhood, hand in hand, forever intertwined. But just then, an emergency alerted the room's monitors. A shattering echo of tones and urgency surged like waves, threatening to uproot our moment. Panic swelled again, but filled within us was a sense of strength, a promise forged in our love. "Together," I called, my voice steady despite the turmoil. "We have always been strong. We will keep pushing forward. Fighting," Silvio rasped, an echo of our promise as the alarms rang louder. "I'm fighting." As the chaos erupted around us, I understood it wasn't merely the battle against his hidden fears that mattered. It was the unity we forged through that struggle, the relentless bonds that flowed beyond shadows. This moment, raw and awakened, would forever change us. "Silvio, don't you forget," I whispered, folding the weariness in my voice into a declaration. "You are here, you are loved, and you are more than enough. You are our dreamer." Amidst the swirling chaos, a spark ignited into a flame, a beacon that promised hope. And as Silvio continued his brave fight, I knew that together we would transform fear into strength, letting love guide us onward. A warmth threaded through the shadows, illuminating our path as we vowed to hold him tight in our hearts, brightening the journey ahead. And there, in the grip of uncertainty, together we shouted into the storm that threatened to pull us apart. You will never leave us because you are loved. With that, illuminated by resilience, we forged on, ready to confront whatever lay ahead.